Shalom, welcome back to the Midrash Rabbah Parsha series. This week, we enter Parashat Vaetchanan. And this is not just the next portion. It is the Shabbat after Tisha B'Av, Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat of comfort. So the Torah does something very deep. After the pain of destruction, after the memory of exile, after the question of how a people rebuilds, the Torah opens with Moshe praying. Vaetchanan means I pleaded. Moshe stands before Hashem and asks to cross the Jordan. He has led the people for 40 years. He has carried their complaints, taught them Torah, defended them after sin, and stayed with them through the wilderness. And now, when the land is finally near, he asks to enter. Midrash Rabbah hears the word Vaetchanan as more than prayer. It hears humility. Moshe does not come saying, Hashem, you owe me. He does not present his resume. He does not say, I split the sea, I climbed Sinai, I suffered for these people, so now pay me back. He comes as one asking for grace. A free gift. That is the first medicine of this portion. The highest person in Israel still approaches God as a beggar of mercy. Not because his life was empty, but because no human merit can turn the infinite into a debtor. Even the greatest service is still service. Even the purest prayer is still received as gift. The Midrash says prayer has many names: crying out, calling, song, supplication, pleading, falling before God, and more. Why so many names? Because the heart does not always speak in one way. Sometimes prayer comes as words. Sometimes it comes as tears. Sometimes it comes as silence. Sometimes it comes as one sentence repeated because the soul has nothing else to say. And Moshe prays this way. The tradition says he prayed 515 prayers, the numerical value of Vaetchanan. We do not need to turn that into mathematics only. Spiritually, it means Moshe knocked again and again. He did not ask casually. He poured himself into the request. But then Hashem says, Raflah, enough for you. Do not continue speaking to me about this matter. That phrase can be hard to hear. If Moshe prayed and still did not receive what he asked for, what does that say about us? It says something honest. Prayer is real. But prayer is not control. Prayer can sweeten judgment, open gates, change us, awaken mercy, and bring miracles. But prayer does not make the servant greater than the master. This is very important. Faith is not proven only when we receive the exact answer we wanted. Sometimes, Faith is proven when we remain in relationship after the answer is no. Moshe is not rejected. Moshe is still beloved. Moshe is still the teacher of Israel, but his path has a boundary. So Vaetchanan is not only about a prayer denied, it is about a life completed in faithfulness. Moshe keeps teaching after disappointment. He keeps blessing after hearing no. He keeps preparing Israel after learning he will not personally enjoy the result. That is mature holiness. To serve because the work belongs to Hashem, not because every outcome belongs to us. Love continues, even when ownership is taken from the ego. Midrash Rabbah describes Moshe's prayer with tremendous intensity. It says his prayer was like a sword, cutting and tearing through barriers. Heaven itself had to be told not to admit the prayer. That image tells us how powerful sincere prayer can be. A real prayer is not weak. It rises with force. It is alive. But the same Midrash also teaches that Hashem's decree remains. That means the world is not held together by desire, even holy desire. The world is held together by divine wisdom. Moshe wants the land. Hashem wants Moshe to prepare the next generation. Midrash Rabbah also poses over Moshe's words, Atah hahilota, you have begun to show your servant your greatness. After everything Moshe has seen, he says, you have only begun. He saw Egypt broken, the sea split, manna fall, water come from rock, and Torah descend from heaven. Still he says, I have only begun to know you. That is spiritual greatness. The closer a soul comes to Hashem, the less it thinks it has mastered him. The small person says, I already understand. Moshe says, I have only begun. There is also a hidden comfort here. If Moshe has only begun, then none of us should despair because we are still beginners. The path of God is not exhausted by one season, one achievement, or one failure. Every morning can be a beginning again. And here is the painful beauty. Moshe does not get to cross the Jordan, but he does get to shape the people who will cross. He does not enter with his feet, but he enters through his teaching. He does not build his own future, but he plants Torah in those who will live after him. That is a lesson for every servant of God. Sometimes our task is not to finish the thing ourselves. Sometimes our task is to bless, prepare, teach, and release. A person can be faithful even when the final form of the dream is given to someone else. The Midrash brings another sharp teaching. Moshe says, Joseph's bones will enter the land, and I will not? Hashem answers that Joseph openly admitted his Hebrew identity. When he was in Egypt, he said he came from the land of the Hebrews. But when the daughters of Yitro described Moshe as an Egyptian man, Moshe was silent. So Joseph is buried in the land, while Moshe is not. This is not said to shame Moshe. It teaches how seriously identity matters. A small silence can reveal an unfinished place in the soul. Sometimes we do not deny God loudly. We only stay quiet when we should stand clearly. Vaetchanan asks, what name do we carry openly? What covenant do we refuse to hide? Before Moshe repeats the Ten Commandments, the Torah tells us that he separated 3 cities of refuge on the eastern side of the Jordan. He knows those cities will not become fully active until the other cities are prepared in the land, but he still does what he can now. This is very moving. Moshe cannot enter the land, but he can still prepare mercy for people who will need protection later. He cannot complete the system, but he can begin it. That is a holy way to live near a boundary. Do the good that is available to you. Do not say, because I cannot do everything, I will do nothing. Moshe teaches us to set aside a refuge even when the future is incomplete. One act of mercy now can become part of a larger healing later. Then Moshe turns to the people and warns them not to forget. Do not forget Sinai. Do not forget the voice. Do not forget that Hashem spoke from the fire. Do not make an image. Do not reduce the infinite to something the hand can control. This matters after Tisha B'Av. Destruction begins when memory becomes weak. A people can receive revelation and later live as if revelation never happened. So Moshe says, guard your soul. Watch yourself carefully. Remember what your eyes saw. This is why remembering Sinai is not nostalgia. Moshe is not saying, look backward and stay backward. He is saying, remember the fire so you can live faithfully in the land. Memory becomes dangerous only when it freezes us. Holy memory gives us roots so we can walk. And this is exactly how comfort works. Comfort is not a soft blanket placed over denial. Comfort is strength entering the broken place. After Tisha B'Av, Shabbat Nachamu does not erase the ruins. It speaks into them. It says, the story is not finished. The same God who allowed judgment also opens return. Midrash Rabbah loves this movement from hearing to remembering to returning. On the verse about seeking Hashem from there, from exile, from distress, the Midrash teaches that there is nothing greater than teshuvah, return. This is one of the most comforting teachings in Vaetchanan. Even if you are there, not here, even if you are far, confused, broken, or delayed, the path back is not closed. The Torah does not say you will find Hashem only if you seek from the perfect place. It says, from there you will seek Hashem your God, and you will find Him if you seek with all your heart and all your soul. From there means the place you are actually standing, not the person you wish you were, not the spiritual level you imagine you should have reached. There. This is the compassion of Hashem. Exile can become the doorway. Regret can become prayer. Distance can become longing. And longing, when it becomes honest, can become return. Then the portion brings us again to the 10 Commandments. Moshe repeats Sinai to the next generation. They were children or not yet born when the first revelation happened. But he speaks as if they are standing there now. That is how Torah works. Revelation is not trapped in the past. Every generation must stand at Sinai in its own soul. The Midrash says, the voice at Sinai was a great voice that did not cease. One way to hear that is simple and powerful. The voice of God did not end on that day. It continues through Torah, through conscience, through holy memory, through the quiet pool that calls a person back when he is drifting. Human voices fade. A speech ends. A song ends. A teacher dies. But the divine voice does not cease. It keeps seeking vessels. It keeps asking, will you hear me today? And then comes the Shema. Shema Israel. Hashem is our God. Hashem is one. Midrash Rabbah gives a beautiful tradition. When Moshe ascended on high, he heard the ministering angels praising Hashem with Baruch Shem Kevod Malhuto Leolam Vaed. Blessed be the name of His glorious kingdom forever and ever. Moshe brought that praise down to Israel. That is why we say Baruch Shem quietly. It is like a treasure from the chamber of angels. On Yom Kippur, when Israel becomes like angels, we say it aloud. But every day, quietly. We carry angelic praise inside human lips. This is the heart of Vaetchanan. The Shema is not only a doctrine, it is a discipline of perception. It trains the soul to see that behind all fragments, there is one. Behind fear and comfort, one God. Behind exile and return, one God. Behind yes and no, one God. Behind the prayer that is granted and the prayer that is limited, one God. Then the Torah says, "You shall love Hashem your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your might." Love here is not only emotion, it is direction. What do you give your attention to? What do you build your life around? What do you teach your children? What words are on your lips when you sit at home, walk on the way, lie down and rise up? Vaetchanan makes love practical. Put these words on the doorposts. Bind them on your arm and between your eyes. Speak them in the house. Repeat them to your children. In other words, do not let holiness remain an idea. Give it a schedule. Give it a doorway. Give it a body. Give it a voice. This is why the portion is so healing after destruction. Rebuilding does not begin only with emotion. It begins with returning to daily covenant. One prayer, one blessing, one remembered verse, one honest conversation, one meal eaten with gratitude, one temptation refused, one child taught, one morning where you rise and say, "I belong to Hashem." Moshe also warns the people about success. When you enter good houses you did not build, and drink from wells you did not dig, do not forget Hashem. Poverty can test faith, but blessing can also test faith. In pain we cry out. In comfort we may fall asleep. So Moshe teaches that gratitude must guard prosperity. When life becomes easier, the soul must become more awake, not less. Every gift should become a reminder of the giver. This is Shabbat Nachamu. Comfort does not mean pretending nothing broke. Comfort means Hashem still speaks after breaking. Comfort means there is still Torah after tears, still Shema after exile, still love after judgment, still a path from there back to Him. Moshe does not cross the Jordan, but his words cross. His prayer becomes our prayer. His surrender becomes our instruction. His Shema becomes the breath of Israel. So this week, let Vaetchanan teach us how to pray without demanding, remember without despairing, return without delay, and love Hashem in the small repeated places of daily life. May Hashem give us the humility of Moshe, the listening heart of Israel, and the courage to say Shema not only with our lips, but with our lives. May every closed gate become a deeper surrender, and may every distance become a doorway back to the One. Shalom.